Emails are back in the news, raising more questions about the relationship between the Clinton Foundation and Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State. This as polls show Clinton pulling ahead of Donald Trump in key swing states. Joining me now from St. Louis, Senator Claire McCaskill, one of the first members of Congress to endorse Clinton for president. Senator, the State Department released more emails this week under a lawsuit that raised serious questions about the link between the Clinton Foundation and the State Department when Hillary Clinton was the secretary there. You just heard Governor Pence say that the American people have a right to know if there was a pay-to-play situation. Do you support the idea of an investigation?
Well, first of all, let's give this context, Chris. This was a right-wing partisan organization, Judicial Watch, that has been after Hillary Clinton for decades. They got thousands of emails. They released 2 of them, trying to give the perception of a problem. But if you really look at those 2 emails, one was about recommending a former staffer for a job, and the other was just somebody who wanted to give the State Department information. There's no evidence that Hillary Clinton ever changed anything she did in the State Department based on any activities of the Clinton Foundation. There's none.
Well, let's take a look at that second case that you're talking about. This involves a fellow named Doug Band, who was a top official at the Clinton Foundation. He emails Uma Abedin, one of Secretary Clinton's closest aides, to arrange for Gilbert Shigori, who contributed at least $1 million to the foundation, to talk to a top U.S. official. Senator McCaskill, you don't have a problem with big donors to the foundation getting favors from the State Department?
Well, first of all this gentleman wanted to do was give information. He was asking for nothing.
Well, we don't know that. That's what Gilbert Shigori says. Gilbert Shigori is a fellow who's been in trouble with the law, had to give back millions of dollars. He says he wanted to talk to tell them about what his insight into the election in Lebanon. We don't know if that's true.
Well, we do know this. We know there's no evidence based on what the State Department has said in the last few days, based on all of the investigations that have been done around an unprecedented release of emails in government, that there are no laws that have been broken. There is no evidence there was any pay-to-play. And frankly, this is a distraction for the Trump campaign, which is a dumpster fire at this point. I think they are anxious to try to get people to look over here, because if you look at what Donald Trump is saying and doing, it is, in many ways, frightening.
Well, I'm going to get into that in a minute, but I do want to ask you one more question with regard to this. You say that there were no favorites, and let's talk about another case, Rajiv Fernando. He was a securities trader who gave at least $1 million to the foundation and was appointed to the International Security Advisory Board, Senator, although he had absolutely no qualifications and no experience in that area.
I'm not sure that was a good idea. On the other hand, I think everyone kind of glosses over the fact that this foundation was doing charitable work around the world. I mean, how much time has been given to really talk about the work of the Clinton Foundation? This wasn't money going in the Clinton family's pockets. This was money going to fight malaria and AIDS and to lower child mortality around the globe. The idea that anyone who gave money to the Clinton
Senator, you certainly
Foundation—
can't argue that that justifies putting a big donor on an official advisory board who had no experience in that area. And when that fact that he was on the board was revealed, he quit within 24 hours.
Well, I will just say, I don't know why he quit. I don't know why he was appointed. I do know this. No one has been investigated more than Hillary Clinton in the history of presidential politics. And I know that when Jim Comey was lauded by the Republicans prior to him saying no law had been broken, they changed their tune when he didn't give them the answer that they wanted. And frankly, Donald Trump is on a campaign to undermine law enforcement in this country by eating at the very fabric of trust in the FBI, which I think is really unfortunate.
All right, let's talk about the economic plan that Clinton unveiled this week, and let's go through it. She would raise taxes $1.2 trillion over the decade, as I said to Governor Pence, almost all of it on the rich. She wants $1.4 trillion more in government spending, including $275 billion more for infrastructure, and she wants more regulation. Question, Senator, isn't that more of the same Obama policies that have given us the weakest recovery since 1949?
Well, I would argue that Trump's economic plan is more of the same because, once again, it's all about helping the 1%. I don't think that Donald Trump understands that most Americans are frustrated at stagnating wages and the shrinking of the middle class. It's a real contrast between these two economic plans. One is about, yes, infrastructure, which we desperately need. It's a government function and it's good jobs. The other is about giving himself a tax break. You know, same old, same old. Let's take care of the very wealthy in this country while middle-class families are struggling to figure out if they can even afford to send their kids to college. I think she is representing the change in terms of what our economy really needs. He's representing exactly what we've got now.
But Governor, you're talking about stagnating the middle class and no wage increases for the middle class. Clinton is talking about higher taxes, more regulation, more government spending. That's been the Obama policy for the last 8 years. Isn't she offering the same old, same old? And let me just say, in terms of infrastructure, there was a big stimulus package, and when Obama first came in, and we still have got all these problems and a weak recovery.
Well, we certainly did a better job coming out of the deep hole that the Bush administration left us in than most countries in the world because of our stimulus program. We had month after month, I think 74, 75 straight months of job growth in this country because of the economic policies of this administration. But we know we have to do more. We have to make sure that college is a reachable goal for all Americans, not just Donald Trump's family. We need to make sure that the rich pay their fair share, which clearly they are not right now. So I think that what we're looking at here is one candidate with specificity laying out a real roadmap for the middle class, the other one taking care of himself, which should be no surprise.
Let's turn to Donald Trump's charge that Hillary Clinton was one of the founders of ISIS. Now, while that was clearly over the top, the fact is that she was the Secretary of State at the time that the Obama administration pulled all U.S. troops out of Iraq. She was the Secretary of State who was pushing President Obama to intervene in Libya, which helped create a vacuum that ISIS has helped fill. Doesn't she bear some responsibility, if not the founder, some responsibility for the rise of ISIS?
Well, first of all, the language that Donald Trump has used as it relates to ISIS is disrespectful to the military that is out there fighting ISIS every day. Just last week, Chris, we took out 8 tankers in ISIS. We took out mortar. We hit a tactical unit. We have shrunk the area of ISIS in Iraq by 40%. We've shrunk the area of ISIS in Syria by 20%. The men and women that are risking their lives every day through the orders of their commander-in-chief, when they hear a presidential candidate try to act like that our president is on the bad guy's side, how do you think that makes them feel as they're out there in the field fighting?
In fairness, Senator, I mean, he isn't criticizing or in any way denigrating the work of the military. He's saying that President Obama and Hillary Clinton made some bad decisions that have led to the present situation.
Well, there's a lot of reasons that ISIS rose up. One of them was a status of forces agreement known as SOFA that Bush negotiated. We couldn't leave our troops in Iraq, even if the president wanted to, because the parliament in Iraq was refusing to give them immunity. Now, Trump probably thinks the SOFA, the status of forces agreement, is a gilded couch at Mar-a-Lago. He probably doesn't even know what SOFA is. But that was a very relevant part of this. It was also important to realize that Assad, by what he did in his country, allowed ISIS to move into what was then Iraq, al-Qaeda in Iraq, into Syria and get strongholds and recruit. That was the work and support of Putin, who is Trump's best buddy. So you can say Trump and his friend Putin are the founder of ISIS, which probably would be more accurate than calling out the commander-in-chief in that way.
Well, I'm glad for that last comment. That'll certainly get Donald Trump's attention. Senator McCaskill, thank you. Thanks for your time this week, and it's always good to talk with you.
Thank you.